Hi, welcome to the Old Geezer's Diary. I'm Chris. It's Monday the 5th of August 2019. I've been doing a bit of future gazing today. I've actually been listening to a BBC podcast called Beyond Today, and the one I listened to was about robotics and in fact actual robots that do things for us. I think they're really interesting, and I learned quite a little bit, and I thought I'd pass on a couple of really interesting bits to you. As ever in our lives, we've always had a kind of thing in the back of our minds, I think, about robotics and about robots taking over the world. And the reality, it seems to be really that they kind of are. Apparently Amazon are increasingly using robots of one sort or another. Although their robots do have issues, particularly with picking things up. People are actually better at picking things up than robots are. But that said, they like robots a lot because they cost nothing to run once you've bought them. Whereas human beings, you have to keep paying them every bloody week. What a disaster that is. But there were a lot of features in this podcast. It was sufficiently good. It was a 20-minute podcast. And I'm going to put a link to that podcast in the comments, or in the description, should I say, on YouTube, so you can pick it up and have a listen for yourself, because it's worth listening to if you're interested in this kind of thing. The most interesting robots from our point of view, there were two really interesting ones. One was sex robots. The other one was a care home robot. And both of them are kind of the same, really, when you think about it, because they're designed to work with people and they're designed to kind of make you feel better, I suppose you would say. So people are working on sex robots, specifically for men, I have to say, but there apparently is going to be, or there will be, or there are, I don't know what the word is really, there's going to be sex robots for ladies as well, so you're not going to be left out, girls. You will have a sex robot called Henry, apparently. But there are more for men because it's a service that men buy, I guess. I don't know. But that's one. But the other one that really had me interested was this one for care homes and for looking after the aged. It was fascinating. It was interacting with people and talking to people. And because we're actually human beings, we're actually good at talking to robots. They're okay at talking to us, but we actually don't mind them. Take all these Siri and all these Alexa and all these crap things that people have got in their houses. And people actually talk to the damn things. Well, the reality is that we are social animals and we'll talk to anything, I guess is the truth. But the robots for old people's homes struck me as being a fascinating one, because a lot of older people are, even in home environment, old people's home environments, feel quite cut off and remote and, separate from the world. And if something could help them come back to it a bit by some kind of interaction, then I think that would be immensely good news for the whole world. I think that would be amazing. There was one other factor that came out of this programme that I really wanted to mention, and this is about the big bosses of all these high-tech companies. The companies that actually make huge profits from technology, like the companies that do robotics, like the companies that do Alexa and Siri and all these people. The big bosses don't use technology. Apparently, it is now becoming the case that if you're in tech, as a business, and you're a senior manager, then you don't have robot assistants, you have people assistants. You don't send your kids to, if you like, you don't send your kids to schools where they use screens all the time. You send your kids to schools where they have people standing in front of them all the time. And the commentator on the BBC podcast said very clearly that, in his or her opinion, the way of the future is that if you want human interaction, you're going to have to pay for it. So in other words, they quoted a case of a man who'd just flown back from holiday somewhere, couldn't find his cases. Because he came tourist, then he constantly got referred to websites and chat bots online and stuff like that. Whereas if he'd gone first class and lost his luggage, he could have spoken to a person. Now that, to me, I just find that completely loopy and a little bit scary, because what it means is that if you've got lots of money and spend it, then you will get a very different service, if you like, from ordinary people like you and me who don't have lots of money, so can't spend it. It's really interesting, isn't it? But the question is then becoming, how much value and how much do we pay to talk to a human being, to have an interaction with a human being? Do you know, this one leads down some interesting roads. I'm going to have a look at it as we go along and see if I can find out more, because I think it's interesting. Do you deal with robots on a daily basis? I certainly sometimes do. When you phone companies and stuff, you quite often get a robot that will understand you saying yes and no, and sometimes will understand quite a lot more of what you say. So we are dealing with robots quite regularly, and we're dealing with machines that identify what we say and what we want. There you go. What do you think about robotics? What do you think about sex robots? That's the latest, isn't it? I'll include a link to a sex robot as well as to the BBC show. So are you going to pay for human contact, or would you be happy to work with machines? I guess that's a big question. I'm Chris. This is the Old Geezer's Diary. If you like what I do, click on like. If you want to know more about what I do, click on subscribe. Ring the little bell next to subscribe, and you'll get a regular note of when I put a new video up. If you want to find more from me, you can find it on Facebook, you can find it on Twitter. We've got our own little website, but our main place is here on YouTube. I'd love to see you here. I'd love to hear your comments, and I will take the trouble to reply if there's something I can help you with. Okay, I'm Chris. That's it. I'll see you soon.